everybody. Welcome to the Talking Heartland show. And this is where we look at back episodes of Heartland TV show. And today we are actually doing our top 10 favorite episodes podcast. We have recapped every episode so far of the show. So you definitely want to check that out, our playlist with all of our recaps. But today we are looking back at our favorite episodes. It's going to be super fun. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Michelle's here.
Hey everyone.
How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm a little stressed about this.
Yeah, it was hard.
Yeah, it was very hard. Yeah, I definitely missed some big ones, but it's just so overwhelming, going through each season and trying to find all of the standout episodes.
Uh-huh.
And then you also want to represent as many seasons as possible as well.
Right.
And it's just, it was impossible to find anything in season 10. And then there was other seasons where it was 3 or 4 episodes that I really liked, and well, I can only pick one.
But it was tough. I mean, there's just so many. So hopefully between both of us, we cover most everything. I mean, I guess I shared with you mine, but I don't know yours. So
Yeah.
So this can be fun. We wanted to start out at the beginning, giving a little thought to the tragic passing of Robert Cormier, who played Finn in season 15 and coming up on season 16. What a horrible tragedy I guess there was a fall of some kind. And we just we didn't get it. We had pre-recorded our recaps in August, so we didn't get a chance to say anything last week. But we definitely want to. Our hearts go out to his friends and family and the whole Heartland cast. It's just a great loss.
Yeah, I echo all of that, and I'm still very much in shock over it. When someone so young passes away, it kind of takes your breath away a little bit.
Yeah.
And I had seen the night before that there was rumors, or it sort of popped up, because I follow a lot of Heartland things, but there was nothing from any sort of official, from his family or from the show, or really anyone. There wasn't even anything really on any sort of official news site, so I didn't want to encourage any kind of sharing of that.
Right.
So I was completely shocked when in our group chat that someone posted from an official source, and yeah, just completely stunned. And I think myself and you and a lot of other Heartland fans were just so excited and hopeful. I think Finn represented a lot of joy and a lot of happiness that was to come in Heartland. I think for a lot of us, we really struggled to see past Amy and Ty, and I was shocked when Finn came in, and it was so there from the beginning. So it's just gonna take a little bit of getting used to that we've lost Finn, that we've lost Robert. It's just so heartbreaking, and I'm sure the next season is going to be really, really tough. Because they're in the middle of production right now. I imagine this is just so difficult for the entire cast just now.
Yeah, for the whole cast. And they said that this next season will be a tribute to him. So they'll probably have to change things a bit, but hopefully we still get to see
so.
We get to see his work.
We do see quite a bit of him, so that's and they've got time to sort of hopefully pay the respect to him on the show as well, through Finn. So yeah.
So yeah, like we said, our hearts go out to his friends and family. That is just a huge loss and a shock. So if you're listening, you want to share any of your thoughts on that, put it in the comments or on Twitter. We'd love to hear your thoughts. But let's move forward. So I'm not married to this order that I have the top 10 in. I kind of they're just 10 of my favorite, I would say.
Yeah. yeah, that was the same. Going through them all, they sort of blend together. I just tried to keep them so that the themes weren't overlapping.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm not married to any sort of order either. It was too stressful.
Yeah, I tried to have a variety of seasons,
Yep.
and I tried to have, I don't know, just a variety of ones that stood out. Fans of the hit family drama Heartland know that Up Faith and Family is the only place to stream seasons 1 through 15 of Heartland, including hours of behind-the-scenes exclusive content. All 15 seasons of Heartland are available and ready to binge only on Up Faith and Family. If you love dramatic shows full of action and suspense, try the 2 new series Mystic and Hudson and Rex. Binge both shows anytime on Up Faith and Family. Watch new series and premiere feel-good films like Finding Love in San Antonio, which debut first on Up Faith and Family. Go to upfaithandfamily.com/hallmarkies today to sign up for your 14-day free trial. That's upfaithandfamily.com/hallmarkies to sign up. All right, well, let's dive in. What is your number 10?
The number 10 is the Heartland Christmas episode, which I can't actually remember where that falls, but I know that it's really early in the show's run. And I did sort of skim through a lot of that episode, and I was really struck by the budget and how big it was compared to sort of the previous episodes, and how it was a big story, but it also was very small, and it was very much about Amy and Ty, and Amy and Ty out on their own. It's also the first time we meet Will Vernon. Lou was being an absolute nightmare in this episode, was just being so over the top with the Christmas open house that she was doing. So that kind of was like, oh my gosh, like Lou's pretty OTT throughout the entire show, but this was like another level. But yeah, I really loved this episode, and just the scenery and the snow, and yeah, the carriage that they have as well. Like it was just a beautiful episode. And I'm glad we ended up. I think we gave that its own episode at one point. Or we highlighted
We did,
it quite
yeah.
a bit anyway. Yeah, so yeah, my feelings on it hasn't changed. It's a really, really great episode, and it really stands on its own as its own sort of. So if you've never seen Heartland before, I would actually recommend you watch that. It doesn't really, it sort of sets up all of the relationships, and it would give you a good idea if the show is for you. So yeah.
Yeah, and it is, I think, the only 90-minute episode that
Yeah, I think so.
they've
Yeah.
ever done. So it's a quote unquote movie. And I wish they would do another one. I wish they would do another Christmas movie. I think it would be fun.
Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't. I mean, the show is still ridiculously popular. It's not going away anytime soon.
Yeah. Well, my number, I do have the Christmas movie on my list. Okay, my number 10 is from season 9, episode 12, and it's called The Real Deal. And I picked it because it has some of the humor that it can be on the show. It's, sometimes the show does take itself pretty seriously, but this is a lighter episode. Yeah. But then it also has something to say with the way Jade is treated. And I really like, Caleb and Jade, they wear these Daisy Dukes and just to make a statement about this exploitative sponsor that she has. And I like Jade as a character. I like Caleb as a character. And I just think it's one that's has some humor to it.
Yeah, that's a really, really fun one.
What is your number 9?
My number 9 is season 9, episode 4, and it's Ties of the Earth. So from a really light episode to a really sad episode. I don't really have a lot to say about this, just that I connected with it on such a personal level because this is the episode where Jack's horse dies, his horse Paint,
Mhm.
and he really has to make a difficult decision on letting it go and how to let it go because he is obviously very old fashioned and he has his sort of cowboy ways of doing things. And so there was a really beautiful moment between him and Ty where he sort of steps back and lets Ty euthanize Paint and let him do it in the medical way as opposed to the sort of cowboy way. So yeah, I've just gone through that twice in my life and it's just such a sad thing and I really connected with Jack in this episode.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's my
that
number
one
9.
is interesting that we both have episodes from season 9 in the same
Mm-hmm.
spot at
Yeah,
number
that's true.
9. Thanks. Um, yeah, so my number 9 is season 8, episode 18. It's written in stone, and this is Ty and Amy's wedding. And I guess
Mm-hmm.
maybe a lot of people would have this higher. It's obviously iconic to the show.
Mm-hmm.
But Lou is tough in this episode. Just drag it down. I mean, she's just so needy and critical of Amy and the way that she was doing her wedding. And that I for me it does bring it down a little bit, but it's still, like I said, iconic. And
Mm-hmm.
the ending, wedding turns out really nice.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's why I had it at number 9. So what about you? What's your number 8?
My number 8 is season 3, episode 10, and it's The Eyes of the Wolf. So when I started watching the show, I didn't know a lot. I did know like the basic cast of the show, and I knew that Scott wasn't in it as much, or I think the actor had been cast in the FBI show that he was on for a
Mm.
while. So I knew that he had moved on from Heartland, and so when this episode started, I was convinced that Scott wasn't going to make it. Um, and I rewatched this morning actually, and it's such a good episode. Like Scott and
Is this the
Ty,
crash?
this is a crash. Scott
Okay.
and Ty are in a plane crash after traveling up to help one of Scott's contacts with a horse. So
Yeah.
on the way back they crash, and Ty really has to step up, and this is just when Scott sort of becomes Ty's mentor, so he sort of has to step up and sort of save Scott's life because Scott is trapped. His legs are trapped in the plane, so he has to sort of do all of the legwork and get out and sort of see where they are, and the sort of transmitter is broken. It's just every sort of stranded in the in the wilderness cliche going in this episode. But I really liked the way that the family responds. Obviously Amy is, an absolute mess in this episode, understandably, but her sort of pushing the family to go out and sort of do a little bit of a mount a little bit of a rescue just on their own. Although it sounds crazy, she sort of convinces the whole family, and Tim is a bit of a nightmare in this episode because this is a really strong episode for Peter. He really comes through for the family with all of his sort of oil contacts. So yeah, it was a really, really good episode, really action heavy and emotional, and like I said, a really good one for Peter. So yeah, that's my number 8.
Yeah, that's a really good episode. It's definitely on my list of
Mm-hmm.
possible that I considered. And it's it was a beautifully filmed episode too. I mean, they
Yeah.
did a great job. You could definitely see as the show went along that their budgets increased because they would have more of these kinds of episodes. And so yeah, that's one I definitely considered. It's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
And all right. Well, my number 8 is season 7, episode 2. And this is Living in the Moment, it's called. And this is where Georgie's adoption goes through. And they kind of wait to tell her that it's gone through because she's in this competition with Olivia. And so there's kind of that going on. And you have Jack having his heart scare in this episode, and he is kind of he's avoiding the doctors. He's not paying giving enough attention. He's looking for his trucks with Ty, and then he has the heart scare. And so I think that I mean, pretty much anything with Georgie and the adoption really gets me. That's very moving. Something I really I think is a beautiful thing. Adoption when it's done right, and it is here. And I love the fact that they have an older child adoption in this
Yeah.
show. You don't see
Mhm.
that as much. So that's really good. And, so there's sort of this idea that foster kids are scary or, are dangerous or something, I think. And the whole Georgie plotline, while she does run away at one point, other than that, she was a huge win to the show. There's no
Yeah.
question. And Lisa's so good. And so I really enjoy that. And, Olivia's always the worst. So it's always kind of fun. So that was my number 8. So what do you have at 7?
So my number 7 is a total cheat. But it's our podcast. We can cheat if we want. Um, so it's season 13, episodes 3 and 4. So this was
Mm-hmm.
like a two-parter. This was also a really difficult thing when selecting episodes because there's a lot of two-parters and it's like, what one do you pick?
Yeah.
And I just couldn't pick with these ones because they're such a pair. So this is Jack is sort of dealing with the loss of his sister, which has been sort of kept secret from the family this whole time, but through Luke sort of pushing Jack a little bit, sort of unintentionally, the family sort of find out about Jack's sister and how she passed away, and Jack having to sort of step up and run Heartland after him sort of being away on the rodeo, and his father's alcohol problems. And yeah, the flashbacks were also really, really well done because they had the real life son of the actor that plays Jack. So that really helped with the sort of blending of the sort of modern day and sort of the past. So it blended really well together. And then you also had the tornado as well. These were like packed episodes,
Yeah.
and very emotional. And I feel like they handled a story. It's really difficult, when you're sort of 13 years in, and then you give one of your actors a storyline like this and make it believable that we would never, not only that the audience wouldn't know this already, but his family wouldn't either. But I think they've done such a great job with Jack's character that it makes it really believable that he would have held all of this, um, and kept it from the family. But yeah, these are fantastic episodes. So yeah, that's my number 8.
Yeah. I didn't group it together. I probably should
Mm-hmm.
have, but
Yeah.
I do have one of those coming up. So I agree. I think that they're very strong. I love, Luke as a character, and he's really
Mm-hmm.
good in
Yeah.
in the Eye of the Storm. That his confrontation with Jack, I think, is so well done.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. So I have for number 7, season 11, episode 18. And this is Naming Day. And it's a pretty simple episode, but I think it has a huge heart, and you really get the family feels because you have it's Lindy's naming day. ceremony is coming, and they have this thing that they developed in Heartland, which I think is pretty brilliant, where they have each person, instead of like a christening or blessing or something like that, they give them a stone on the mantle, and they named your stone. And in this one, it's Lindy's naming ceremonies happening, and then they end up with Lisa and Tim also getting stones, which is sweet. I mean, it's a little unreal. I don't understand why Tim didn't have one before, but nevertheless, it still turned out to be really nice. And then we also have Georgie getting the offer to work with Val, and Caleb and Ty have a plot line. And then also you have Amy working with Spartan with for Lindy's surprise. And so all of that is very sweet, and it's just a nice family episode, I would say.
Yeah, that's a good one.
All right, well, what's your number 6?
My number 6 is season 6, episode 10, The Road Ahead. So I forgot how dramatic the opening of this episode was. So this is the fire at the house that Lou bought that Peter wasn't crazy about, but there's sort of bad wiring and there's a fire, and I think Georgie has run away at this point, run away to this house because Jack had initially filled in paperwork to foster Georgie, and Clint found him to be too old, and so Georgie is in a state of panic, thinking that she's going to be sent away. Eventually, obviously, Lou and Peter sort of step in because they can't, face the idea of Georgie not being there, and I think they do a really good job of making Lou and Peter's despair at that, being really palpable and believable. And obviously Phoenix is in this fire, so he is traumatized by it. So Amy works with Georgie and Phoenix to sort of rebuild their connection and trust. And also throughout it, Amy and Ty are engaged, and because of all of this going on, they've sort of kept this secret. But we find out at the end of the episode. But yeah, this is such a dramatic and emotional episode. I was really emotional watching the scenes with Lou and Peter, especially when they're talking about Georgie. I did find parts of it really frustrating because they do bicker quite a bit in this episode, and it was frustrating watching it, thinking, why can't we just have an episode where they're focused on Georgie and not having them bicker over the house or over, well, you never wanted the house in the first place, and it's like, we've got bigger issues here. So I did find that a little bit frustrating, but that's just typical Lou Peter frustration. But yeah, that's what I've got for number 7.
Yeah, that's a good one. I have that coming up as well. Yeah, it's like I said, anything with the adoption and Georgie really gets to me. So I agree. Well, my number 6 is from season 2, episode 18. So this was the I think it was maybe the finale. I don't know. But one of the last episodes of season 2. And this is called Step by Step. And this is the one where Ty gets a fever. They're up in this mountain cabin. I don't know if this is the first time we see the ghost horse, but it's one of the first times. It's the first time they say "I love you" to each other. So that's obviously important. You have Lou finally admitting to Jack that she's dating the oil man, Peter. And you also have a plot with Ashley, it's probably least effective, getting upset about the fact that her mom sponsored Caleb on the rodeo circuit. But I think this is a really a kind of classic Heartland episode with all the drama of Ty with the fever and it's an important one for their relationship, obviously. So it had to be on my list.
Yeah, that was a tough one to cut.
Yeah, and there's some tough cuts. All right. Well, what do you have at 5?
At 5, I have season 5, episode 12, Road to Nowhere. And I think that's like the second part of a sort of a two-parter. In the previous episode, Ty finds out that his dad has passed away. And his mom brings him the ashes.
Yeah.
So he is going to go on a road trip to scatter the ashes. Originally Amy is going to go with him, but he is sort of starting to shut down a little bit and really anxious, and he decides to go on his own. And I thought they did a really good job of Jack finding this out and sort of feeling sort of overwhelmed with the need to sort of be there for Ty. And there's a really sweet moment where, Ty is just really struggling to say goodbye to his dad. He tries to scatter the ashes and he can't. And he talks to Jack and sort of tells Jack that he's been, more of a father to him, and that's why he's sort of struggling with saying goodbye to his biological dad. And throughout this episode, we also have Jesse Hutch back as Bryce, and he wants to sort of take on a horse that Amy just doesn't think is right for him. So it was sort of nice to have him back, but really the focus of the episode is Ty and Jack, and it's just a really not a lot happens. It's a lot of conversation between them, and I thought the dialogue and the writing was just really impeccable in this episode.
And which number was that?
That was season 5, episode 12, and it was at number 5.
Yeah, and so it ends with a crash, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had 13 as an honorable mention. Aftermath of the crash.
Okay, so that was the two-parter I was thinking of. I was like, this is, I can't remember if it was previous episode, the episode after.
Yeah, that's when we about when we were like, oh, these Flemings need to stay away from ravines.
Yeah, stop going off on your own.
But no, those are both excellent episodes, I think. And you saying it, I think I should have had that on my list. Shouldn't have just been honorable mention. But it's because that's a really good one. All right. Well, my number 5 is the Christmas movie. I have. And I think that this movie is one of the best horse stories that we get in the on the show. I mean, what they have to go through to save these wild horses, and the town doesn't even really want them to save the wild horses. There's a lot of resistance, and they have to literally speak before the town council to be allowed to save the horses. And is it going to work? Is it going to put them in danger? Are they, is Amy going to be able to, is she going to be able to get out of that? And I don't know what, I forget. It's it's not a ravine, but it's ravine-ish, I guess.
Yeah, it's like an avalanche is sort of.
Yeah. And yeah, so it could be dangerous. And but then the horses are starving to death. And so there's that.
It's quite graphic as well. You have the actual horses sort of buried in snow, and you typically wouldn't have that on a normal episode of Heartland. You have them, with frostbite and wolf attacks. It's pretty gruesome. It's pretty gruesome.
Yeah, it is, and they somehow make those horses look starving. They do a convincing job how they do it, and I think it's very effective. And of course I love anything with Christmas, and Ty and Amy's relationship grows in this. And though, I mean, the only weakness I think of this movie is Tim and this love story. that they add,
Oh, that's
which
ridiculous. Yeah.
is stupid and it doesn't go anywhere. And I think they have one episode where they meet up with her again and they kind of make a joke about it.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, and also like the placement of this on Netflix is crazy because he sort of starts this relationship and then in the next episode of Heartland it's a completely different relationship he's in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the weakness, but I still
Yeah.
overall think
Yeah.
it's really good, especially like I said, the horse stuff in this
Mm-hmm.
in the Christmas movie, I think is very good. So what do you have at number 4?
At number 4, I have season 7, episodes 18. Be careful what you wish for. So this is Jack and Lisa's wedding, the very quiet wedding that Tim
Mm-hmm.
sort of crashes. And I actually like that Tim was there because it sort of shows how much his relationship with Jack has grown. And that his sort of desperation to sort of be a part of it was really fun. Um, Really the Jack and Lisa of this is the main thing that I really liked in this episode. Um, there's a lot of other sort of shenanigans going on with Caleb and Ty who've bought a horse, and Amy enters the horse into sort of a barrel racing competition to help them out. And then we also have the sort of Amy leaving. This is the finale, so we have Amy
Yeah.
leaving for Europe with the prince. But really, for me, it was Jack and Lisa. I mean, Jack and Lisa are right up there with Amy and Ty for me in terms of the romantic relationships on this show. So yeah, I just thought it was beautiful. Like when you watch that wedding, it is one of the most beautiful weddings that they've ever had on the show.
Yeah, I had this as an honorable mention.
Mm-hmm.
I agree about the wedding. I think it's very well done, and usually you don't see kind of sweet, simple weddings quite like
Mm-hmm.
this on shows. I think it was perfect for this couple, and yeah, the Tim's kind of involvement that he ends up being there is sweet, and yeah, it didn't make my top 10, I think, because of the Amy Goes to Europe plot,
Mm-hmm.
which, it's just like, how dare she go to go to Europe? Like, what? They acted like she was the worst person, and the music was so over the top in that sequence. This was like, she's gone, she's leaving, like, what?
Yeah, yeah. She's never coming back.
uh, but I do love the wedding. I agree. Well, my number 4 is season 13, episode 4, The Eye of the Storm. You did the 2-parter.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree. I would maybe say the same. But this episode is so good. You have the tornado taking you have different people that are affected by the tornado. You've got Lou and Peter and the girls at the Dude Ranch hunkering down, and I liked Katie, saying that I like being together. Calm down, you don't need to get together. Like, that was funny. But then you have Ty and what's his name, that that had been giving them the bad reviews, and
All right.
that was angry and bitter, and them hashing it out. And then of course uh, you have Jack and Luke and Amy and Tim, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that confrontation between Luke and Jack is so well done. And we love Lucien River. He's so good. And I know, I just thought that was a very good child performance, and that confrontation, and also to have Sean's son play
Mm-hmm.
young Jack and do such a good job at it, and the whole thing with his sister, I think it's a very, very good episode.
I
So
really hope they bring Shay back and do like another flashback episode. It was so good. It's a
yeah,
shame that they've sort of done that because he can't be in the sort of the actual show now. It would always have to be like a flashback.
yeah, yeah. I hope so too, because he was really good,
Yeah,
um, and it was stunt casting that actually works, and
yeah, right.
so that's nice. And it felt like, okay, you can see that Netflix budget in this. There's good spend some money. Uh, so that's my number 4. What is your number 3?
My number 3 is season 8, episode 18. So the finale of Amy and Ty's wedding. Ty finally gets a fireplace stone. I guess that's so weird. It's like you have to be married to get it, but yeah, Tim just had to wait forever. But yeah, so Ty gets a stone. The wedding was beautiful. I think the way that they sort of involved the horses was incorporated the horses into the wedding with having her sort of come up to the building on horseback was it worked really well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then throughout this whole episode, you also have Georgie working with a horse called Trouble, who becomes her other trick riding horse. So Amy is really sort of helping her with that, and there's a really beautiful moment at the end where Amy and Ty are leaving to go on their honeymoon, and she sort of sees Georgie make a connection with Trouble finally. It's like she finally gets through to him. And I just thought the music and the way that scene was also set up worked really well. And then you also have Jack's horse Paint retiring finally. That had been a big sort of question mark throughout these last few episodes of the season. But yeah, really the Amy and Ty wedding was really the main focal point, and I thought the wedding itself really fit who they were as people. Because obviously Lou was doing the wedding organizing and planning and going way over the top again. Because Amy was so sort of nonplussed by it all, and not stressed out until sort of Lou sort of made her stressed. But yeah, I
Yeah.
thought all in the end it worked out perfectly for them. Yeah, that's my number 3.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I had it on my list, so I agree. I think it's an iconic episode.
Yeah.
It'd be hard
Mhm.
not to include it, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure.
So my number 3 is season 6, episode 10, The Road Ahead. So you already talked
Mhm.
about that, but I think it's a really iconic episode. You have Amy and Ty that um, they're they're waiting to tell the family about them getting engaged,
Mhm.
and so that's you've got that going on. Then you also have the Georgie getting adopted. That they said this is when they tell her that they've decided to adopt
Mhm.
her, and that's just very sweet. You have a whole plot line here with Phoenix, who's because of the fire, he's become super skittish and won't go anywhere near Georgie, and so there's a whole plot, a pretty good horse plot of trying to restore their bond,
Mhm.
and then yeah, you have the fire confrontation, I guess, between Lou and Peter. But that scene where they tell Georgie that they're going to adopt her is so sweet, and
Yeah.
one of my favorites.
Yeah, and she's so little, and that's it.
Yeah.
When I look back, I was like, oh my god, she's so little.
but she was a great find. She
Yeah.
was a great add to the show. Kind of took away Mallory's place, but
Yeah.
did a good job, very good job. So All right. What do you have at 2?
At 2, I have season 1, episode 8, Out of the Darkness. So this is one of my favourite sort of standalone sort of Amy's Cases episodes. So this is one of the favourite sort of horse storylines that they've ever done on the show. So this is Gallant Prince, who is a horse owned by Lisa's horrible ex-husband. And Lisa sort of convinces him, and I believe they bought Gallant Prince together before they sort of broke up. So Lisa sort of convinces her ex-husband to let Amy work with Gallant. So he is very traumatized by a fire. And so Amy's sort of trying to build up his trust, but he is just very skittish and almost sort of dangerous to be around. And then you also have his 2 trainers, played by Corey Sevier and Benjamin Hollingsworth. And Corey Sevier's character is just so devastated and almost as traumatized, probably more traumatized than the horse. So Amy really bonds with him because it's bringing back a lot of memories and grief connected to her mother's death and how that happened with her, convincing her to sort of go rescue Spartan. And so it's really the first time that we really see Amy talk about her mum's death in that way, and really sort of talk about it outside the family. And I thought Corey was just so good in this episode. And then when we sort of find out that Benjamin Hollingsworth, his character, is actually the one responsible for the fire, and the horse is mainly reacting to him. Whenever he shows up, the horse sort of loses it, understandably. But yeah, it's a really strong episode, and I think it's one of Amber Marshall's sort of best, especially for this early in the show. So this is just a really well written episode. It really just stuck out in my head this one when I was reflecting back on the first season of the show. This is the one that really was like, yeah, I have to put that on the list.
Yeah, that is a good one. I actually don't have one from season 1. I just realized that on my list. But yeah, that's a really good, particularly horse episode, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my number 2 is from season 3, episode 3, and it's Man's Best Friend. And this is an iconic episode where you have Ty and Amy getting ready for a big dance, and they end up not being able to get there. His truck breaks down, and they dance in the bed of the truck together, and so that's like I said, very iconic. And then you also have the whole time Jack looking for um, a dealing with his truck. It keeps breaking down, and he doesn't want to let go of his truck because it has a lot of memories from his family. And so it's a pretty simple episode, but especially that iconic dancing scene is great. All right. Well, we're this didn't take as long as I thought it might. But we've got the number 1, our favorite Heartland episode. And I said when we recorded the recap of this, if you don't like this episode, this show's probably not for you. So, um, so what is your number 1?
So my number 1 is the one that you just talked about, season 3, episode 3.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it would be like my top number 1 favorite episode of Heartland ever, but it is so iconic. It is really the beginning of Jack and Lisa, and his sort of frustration of the family pushing him to get in your truck and not understanding why that is just so impossible for him. And we also have the flashbacks of Lindy and finding out that she was the one that got him the truck for their anniversary. I ended up watching this whole episode today.
Yeah.
I was meant to skim through it and ended up just watching the whole thing. Um, but yeah, it's also Amy's a little tough in this episode, I will say. She's just so frustrated with Ty, and him not being like crazy excited about going to the dance, but he is just, it turns out, really nervous and is getting lessons from Lou,
Oh
some
yeah.
dancing lessons from Lou. Yeah, because and also Peter's sort of coming into town for his first time in months, and you know, Lou's actually has a really sweet moment where she sort of interrupts that to give him a lesson, and yeah, this is just such an iconic episode, and just the irony of Ty the whole episode saying like he's got an old truck as well, but his is really reliable and it's a classic. It never breaks down, and yes, for the episode to end with it actually breaking down. Um, yeah, it was a really great way to end that episode, and it's one of the first big like Amy and Ty episodes. I feel like we have sort of had up to that point had sort of episodes here and there, but this is them properly together, um, like a proper couple, and it's such a good, and the song choice is really great as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my number one.
Well, my number one is from season 11, episode 2, Highs and Lows. And this is
Mm-hmm.
the episode where Georgie has to forgive the driver who killed her parents. And
Yeah,
I think it's so emotional, so well done. The moments between Georgie and Peter are so beautiful. Um, and that, he comes to help her through this. And he at first she's at this guy's house and she sees that he has like a baby and
mm-hmm.
everything, and then they have this confrontation, and she says, all I ask is that um you give the baby a great life and that you love her, and it's so well done. And Alicia's great, and it's just, to me, it captures everything that's lovely about the show, the
Mm-hmm.
family. I'm always a sucker for themes of forgiveness. That
Yeah,
I think that's like the hardest thing that we're asked to do sometimes in this life, is to forgive other people when we have our wounds. And obviously, something like this would be so difficult to forgive. And I just love this episode. I think it's excellent.
yeah, and Alicia's acting in this episode is so good. Um, we've seen her do some difficult things throughout the show, but I um feel it all sort of crescendoed with this episode.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, just like and it was also sort of a subtle episode in a way. There wasn't a lot of, you know, dramatics or, the fact that she was able to sit down and have a conversation with this person was such a testament to how far Georgie's come,
Hmm.
um, and the lessons that she's learned, and the fact that she was able to give him that forgiveness was really, really breathtaking. And yes, definitely an honorable mention for me.
Yeah.
And I knew that you would have this on your list because I knew it's such a big episode for you.
Yeah. And you also have adorable Lindy, baby Lindy, in this, which is so cute.
Yeah,
And so I think the and you have Ty and Amy making Cass and Caleb their the guardian for Lindy, and Caleb being really cute about it. So there's some fun stuff too, and but yeah, it's I think it's my favorite. I think it's just a really emotional, moving episode, and So there we go. We did it. So let's go over our lists real quick. So I have at number 10, I have season 9, episode 12, The Real Deal. At number 9, season 8, episode 18, Written in Stone. Let me do that again. At number 10, I have season 9, episode 12, The Real Deal. And then at number 9, I have season 8, episode 18, Written in Stone. At number 8, I have season 7, episode 2, Living in the Moment. At number 7, I have season 11, episode 18, Naming Day. At number 6, I have season 2, episode 18, Step by Step. Number 5, the Heartland Christmas movie. And number 4, season 13, episode 4, The Eye of the Storm. At number 3, season 6, episode 10, The Road Ahead. Number 2, season 3, episode 3, Man's Best Friend. And number 1, season 11, episode 2, Highs and Lows.
Perfect.
So
So at number 10, I have the Heartland Christmas movie. At number 9, I have season 9, episode 4, Ties of the Earth. At number 8, I have season 3, episode 10, Eye of the Wolf. At number 7, I have season 13, episode 3 and 4. I don't actually have the episode names written down for this. So number 6 is season 6, episode 10, The Road Ahead. Number 5 is season 5, episode 12, The Road to Nowhere. Number 4, season 7, episode 18, Be Careful What You Wish For. Number 3 is season 8, episode 18, Written in Stone. Number 2 is season 1, episode 8, Out of Darkness. And my number 1 is season 3, episode 3, Man's Best Friend.
So if we were going to pick as a podcast, our favorite, it would be Man's Best Friend. It's the best episode of Heartland.
It's got everything. It's really iconic. And like you said, if you don't like this, just quit while you're ahead.
Yeah. So let us know your favorites, and you can watch all of these episodes on Up TV, Faith and Family. If you subscribe, they are an incredible service, and you can get all things Heartland from there. So you definitely want to check that out, and we'll have all the information in the description. And so definitely take a look at that, and yeah, let us know your favorites. We want to hear in the comment section or on Twitter. Please share. And this has been such a joy, such a process for 2 years. I know you were put on your Twitter that you couldn't believe that you didn't have to watch 2 episodes, 3 episodes.
Yeah, every Friday I'm like planning my day because I have a half day on Friday. I only work on Friday mornings, and so I try to make the most of having the half day off, and I'm always like stressed about when I can find time to watch my 3 episodes, and I'm like, it's okay, I also have Saturday morning if I don't have the time, but I prefer to do it on the Friday. And yeah, it's weird having the time back for now anyway, until Christmas kicks in, and then we'll have no time whatsoever.
Yeah, that won't put you to work.
Yeah, but this was so difficult. I messaged Rachel and was like I think I said I had like 30 episodes. Like something ridiculous. My honorable mentions is like 10 episodes, all the ones that I cut.
Yeah, it was tough.
This was challenging, but yeah, it would be really fun to hear if we've missed anything.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some, popular episodes that we didn't talk about. Like I said, I didn't have anything from season 1 or season 4 in my list. So yeah, let us know. And this, like I said, this has just been a great experience. And I hope you all have enjoyed listening. And we'll be back for season 16 once we get there. So well, Michelle, where can people find you?
On Twitter at Michelle R. Benson.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. Also, make sure you're following the podcast at Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews, 5 stars. It really helps us so much. And if you are listening on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. We also have our Patreon group and merch store, so check that out. And we have some Heartland inspired merch in there, so check that out. And thanks everybody. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
Bye.